Hello there, and welcome to another edition of A Lot of Help Live. I'm James Lott Jr. So, a friend of mine and I were talking about anxiety. We were talking about anxiety. And he said to me, I don't think I'll ever not be, is it the word? Let's start over again. I'm still drinking my coffee this morning. Oh, wrong side. Let's try this again. Do it this way. He said, I don't think I'll ever not be. Let's try that again. Can't speak this morning. He thinks he'll always have anxiety. That's basically what it is. He thinks he'll always have anxiety, doesn't think that'll go away. There's so much going on in the world that no matter where you turn, there's anxiety producing stuff. So I started thinking, because at first I was looking at the Citizen app. I have my phone. I don't want to show you my phone, but there's an app called Citizen, if you haven't heard already. My hair is crazy. And it shows you all the crimes being committed around you. Not just crimes. A lot of them are crimes, but somewhat crimes, fires, emergency stuff, all around your neighborhood. So it's all anxiety producing things. I have to admit, there was one night not too long ago. My family would know this because I was sharing it on Snapchat, our private Snapchat, where where I live across the street, there were like 10 things going on throughout the evening. A man with a machete. I don't even get the whole machete thing. How do you get a machete? And what are you gonna do with it? A girl with a pole running down the street. A couple things actually I could see from my window. Someone had a gun, someone was shooting somebody, a person was assaulted. It was like a car crash. It was like the whole evening. It was like one thing after another. And it's got me thinking, if I hadn't had the Citizen app, I guess I just wouldn't know about some of this stuff. Like I saw the obvious one, it was across the street from me, but I guess I just would not know what's going on out there. So am I better for it? Because I know what's going on. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave my house. I'm too scared to get out the house. I'm like, I think I'll stay here. This is also daytime and nighttime, not just nighttime. So it just made me start thinking about that. So think about, okay, so this stuff was always going on, whether I had the app or not, right? I mean, I just didn't know about it. I've walked around town. I walked all over Los Angeles. I've seen a few things here and there. And for the most part, I've been left alone when I walk through the streets. I'm a big black man. A lot of times I've been left alone with my headphones on or whatever. I'm just kind of just walking determined and not having problems. So that stuff must have been going on even when I was doing that. It must have been. It's a trip. You're just like, should I even? I mean, it's just weird, right? I'm hooked on the Citizen app, though. I'm hooked on it. I keep looking at it, tells you stuff. Let me look at it right now and tell you what's going on right now. Right now, it's quiet. So let's see. So Citizen, and it's thinking right now. 2 incidents within 2 miles. They show one. I'm going to show up close up to where I'm living. A gun-wielding suspect barricaded inside business. That's 4 miles away. The virus is decreasing, apparently. Yeah. And this is it's like it's showing, it's like doing the whole area. It's a trip. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm hooked on it. I can't stop watching it. I had a brother-in-law who liked to listen to the police scanners. And so I downloaded one police. You could download these apps. These are apps for free. You can download them. And I remember listening to a police scanner one night, and it was creepy. Like I was at night. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and hearing, I don't know, the static and the operator coming on, or just say dispatcher coming on. Man decapitated, blah blah blah. Police sent 2 units. I mean, it's like it's creepy. It's creepy. I was like, ooh, this is a little much for me. I didn't know what to do with that. It was very I couldn't listen anymore. It felt like I was in a horror movie. It was so weird. Um, I don't know, it's scary. I don't know. I'm just like anxiety. People are so anxiety ridden. Kids are anxiety ridden. Adults. There's so much bad news out there. It just is. There's no good news. And there's some. I started JLJ this morning, which is a dose of positivity and encouragement to kind of counter. I have friends at Optimist Daily and possibly Lisa who are trying to do things that are kind of just to add something to the mix that's just not negative. I'm seeing these things about, toxic positivity. I'm like, is that really a word? Is that really something? Toxic positivity? I guess people think it is. Um, I haven't done enough research into that to make a full judgment. When I hear that, like, how is positivity toxic? I saw during the pandemic people posting a lot of the don't do anything. If you want to do nothing, do nothing. Just you want to survive, just survive. And yes, on some level, I get some people's thoughts behind that. For some people, because it was a strange time period that we were all going through last year. And I totally admit there was a very strange time period we were all going through last year. That there are some folks like me who found ways to thrive in it, who started doing projects and taking care of things they've always wanted to do. That was always my thing. You've been talking about I would say pre-pandemic, I've had a lot of people in my life who, not a lot of people in my life, but a lot of people I know who didn't have enough time to do certain things they wanted to do and have complained about it, but I have the time. Well, the pandemic, for many folks, because a lot of businesses closed, so it was a tough time for a lot of us who had no jobs. But I always felt, and I was pressing, one way to get through it is finally work on those projects. Maybe one of those will bring you money or bring you attention that will lead to some kind of money. But bottom line, you're exercising your brain, your creativity. Maybe it'll make you happy as well as it can make you happy during this weird time period as we were trying to navigate that. Because for me, I didn't get a stimulus check last year. I didn't have a job. I had to figure it out. And there were days, yes, some depression set in. On days you're just upset. I get that. But overall, I still had to wake up every morning and do something. And I have a lot of friends who said once they found some kind of purpose during that time period, it did help them get through it. But I saw a lot of posts at that time were saying things like, well, you don't have to write that novel. You don't have to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if I get kind of what you're trying to say, but that's not really, I don't think it's the message either. I think there are a lot of people people will take that as, I'm just going to stay depressed and stay anxiety ridden. So they don't do anything. We have got to get permission to be told not to do anything. It's fine. And then then what's going on? There's nothing, then you just have nothing going on. I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting message I kept seeing. And I would never try to bully someone into doing something. And that's just, it's your life. Do whatever you want. Do something, don't do something. I was just one of those people who just did not want to hear, I don't have time. I wish I could do this. I'm a doer. I'm like, do it. Don't just talk about it, do it. If you have the means, do it. I don't want to hear 10,000 ways of why you're not doing it. I'm a person who feels like if you choose not to do it, then just don't do it. But don't talk about it to death that you wish you were doing it, if that makes any sense. Everybody has choice. You're adults. Everybody has choice. So my thing is, you choose your choice. That's your life, not my life. I have no stake in it. It's your life. It's none of my business. but you have friends who come and talk to you and they vent and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But after a while, they keep repeating that. I'm like, well, then do it. Start trying it, or do something similar. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's there are a lot of things that happened last year that, and will still continue this year, um, that I would see in almost seemingly in favor of anxiety. Now, it's not. It's sometimes for some people it's hard not to look at the downside of things, and when the media and social media present these things to you in mass all the time, and you're retweeting, retweeting, you're commenting, and on all the negative stuff, it's not hard. And when you scroll, I scroll up and I see stuff I wish I didn't see. I read things I wish I didn't read sometimes because I have a lot of people I follow. Um, and it's not about putting your head in the sand. It's not about not acknowledging certain things. It's not about staying oblivious to anything. It's not about that at all. I feel like there's a place. There's you have to find some kind of balance with taking in the negative news and what's going on, processing it, and but you got to take in some positive. It's like when you eat food. I can't eat bananas every day. That would just be gross and dumb. It wouldn't nourish me at all. I just people find some way to bring other stuff in, whether it's reading book of that they like, or doing music, or doing their hobby, or being in the garden. I feel like there's something that to me is positivity when you're trying to find something else that brings you some kind of smile on your face or takes you out of situation. I was thinking about the 80s. I'm from the 80s. Um, and oh, sorry, I can't. My phone is, sorry, my phone's beeping. This is real life. I can't. I guess I didn't turn off the thing. Whatever. Um, I'm from the 80s. I came of age in the 80s. In 1980, I turned 11, and by 1990, I was 21. So that's a very interesting span. So that's junior high, high school, and then young adult, college, young adult, first jobs, all that kind of stuff. That's that whole span. Well, I had 3 likes and I got 2. Well, somebody liked what I said, apparently. Yeah, I just got like, oh, a like went away. Oh well, that happens. Um, yeah, exactly. Um, Now I'm thinking, did we have anxiety back in the 80s? Because we didn't have Citizen app. There was no apps, period. And I was thinking back to the time when we had the Cold War, when everybody was, I remember telling us the nuclear bombs were going to come get us. I lived in a place where there were gangs and gang activity. I had cops pulling me over and doing their racial profiling, going to stores and being racially profiled because I was black. I was sexually assaulted in the 80s. There are a lot of things that happened that are happening still today. But it just seems like everyone came back. Yeah, I got the third one. That they're like, I don't know who's watching. The chat room's open. I don't know who's watching, but thank you for that like again. I'm back. There was a lot of things that were going on, and we still had really poor areas. We had the yuppies that came. It was the class struggle was happening. It was all about excess. I mean, there was anxiety. I'm sure there was, right? I don't remember anybody talking about it as heavily as we do now. So I was kind of thinking back. When I think back to the 80s, I think, oh, well, the 80s. I mean, they were kind of fun and they were wild, and there's drugs and rock and roll, and I mean, I smile when I think back about it. Um, but there was still police brutality. There was still like some racial profiling. There was still inequality for women. You couldn't be gay. I mean, there's all kinds of things that were happening back then that, I mean, I guess, were we worse off back then? I was trying to question. I mean, I think now just because we have social media, everybody has a camera phone, this seems more prevalent. But I feel like it's not. It can't be any more than it was then. It was always happening. Like a tree, when a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? I mean, I guess it still falls in the forest. Somebody has to hear it. So, I mean, somebody heard it. But I know everybody has this kind of, I have friends taking like 3 different medications for anxiety and depression. And I'm not talking about the ones where it's a clinical thing. I'm talking about just a lot of us. I mean, there are a lot. I mean, there was always weed. I mean, were we smoking more weed back then than we are now? Now there's edibles. But I remember people were making pop brownies and things back in the 80s. But is it more than that or less? Drinking. There was always drinking. Are we drinking more? Drinking. Wait, or is it about the same amount? It just seems more prevalent. There were always alcoholics, always drug addicts, always addictions. It's just very interesting to me when you think about it now. It seems like now it's very, I mean, for me, as I said, I'll look at the news and I get very anxiety ridden. I try to look at the news that much, but I don't want to be. I'm not. I mean, I can't miss certain stories. I'm on Twitter, Facebook. They're if you don't watch the news, if you're on social media, you'll hear certain things. I don't hear everything, and I have people in my life who they read everything. They watch the news, and they're always talking about every negative thing that happened out there. And I'm like, I don't. A kid got strangled at 7. I'm like, I don't really want to know that. I don't. I mean, I know it happens. I just don't really need to hear that today. It sucks and it's horrific. But I have friends who that's all they talk about is all the bad things that went on out there. There's a girl missing. There are always girls missing and guys missing and kids missing, right? It seems like there's more now. I know there's more of us in the world than there was in the 80s. But I have to believe it was all just, I guess we just didn't talk about it. There was always molesters and rapists and serial killers and it seems like, and guns. I mean, like there's always gun violence, right? It just seems again more prevalent in the last 20 years. But there's always gun violence. Like I said, again, I come from a place where people had guns, and I've been to bad neighborhoods and things like that. Yes, it's just very interesting. I look back at that time period, and maybe because I was a kind of a young kid, I was a kid, as a teenager. My world maybe was smaller on some level. Now I'm an adult. I'm almost 52 years old in a little less than a month. Maybe now it's just different for me. Maybe now I just I'm more aware of it. Maybe. I mean, I did watch it. I wasn't completely again head in the sand even in the 80s. I was in high school. I was working. I had jobs. I met different kinds of people. I was always a very well-rounded person when it came to friendships. I knew the realities of certain things, but maybe because I'm older now, maybe because I wasn't, I became an adult in the 80s, but I wasn't a full adult the whole 80s. I don't know, even the 70s. I remember we had gas problems. I remember having, the odd and even days. We go get gas. You have to go on an odd day. You have to go on an even day. The gas shortage. Disco. Yeah, disco was big. Disco was created as an escape. Disco was born out of the Vietnam War. People wanting to escape from that whole decade of that and civil unrest and equality and all the movements. They needed something. They wanted to party, and I get it. I mean, I get the mid-lacers why writers wanted to party. They wanted to party. life had been so serious up to that point. People were dying for freedom, for equality, for their place in the world. And so, then it became like, I just want to forget everything for a while. I completely get it. That's where you want to put your head in the sand. And disco came out, and that was like, it was family friendly. It was, it was easy breezy. It was loosey goosey. I like disco, so I don't care. I liked it. I remember it. I remember dancing it, doing the hustle, doing the cowboy, the freak, the bump, the airplane. I like disco. It was fun. Music's fun. I know it's considered mindless, faceless music. There are a lot of people who, in the business, like anything, can water down a genre. For every big star like Donna Summer or the Bee Gees, who were really talented and were telling many stories with their music, and their voices were amazing. There were bands that just you wouldn't even know what they are. They took a disco beat and some singers, some singers they even know about, and put it to a song. Yes, there was Disco Duck, but it was Rick Dees. Rick, if you were from Los Angeles, you knew Rick Dees was this comic morning personality DJ on Kiss FM 102.7. He had a lot of characters. He had Chewy from La Puente, and he had Heidi Wine. I mean, he had a bunch of different things he did. He did Disco Duck. He wasn't like he was trying to make, Beethoven music. He knew it was a parody of a kind of disco. It just happened. It was so catchy. It was number one. And that's what happens sometimes when you want to escape. I think TikTok today is kind of that. TikTok, people crap on TikTok. People just, oh my God, they just hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate, hate, hate it. They are not in. They're just like, no, no, no. They are not in. Got it. But TikTok, like for me, I don't exactly know who's on it. I have some friends on it, people I've met that really I made some really good friendships on there, some friendships on there. But there's a lot of people I don't know who they are. They're from all over the world. And I've gone viral recently, and I'm a kind of a TikTok star, I'll put in quotes, I guess. And it reminds me of that. It's just you scroll through. I put my life where they sit and they scroll. They watch video after video after video. I rarely scroll. I'm so busy with everything else in my life. I don't have a lot of downtime. So when I have downtime, I don't really go on. I don't go on TikTok to look at stuff. I try to support some of my friends are on there and like their things and watch. And I have a couple of people that I do watch, so specifically that I watch. But for a lot of people, it's mindless, just humor. People are just laughing. They're just laughing, and it takes them away from their lives today. So I kind of liken TikTok to disco. Now people are like, "What in the f?" But it's something that I remember when Vine came out. And that was the 6-second videos. I kind of took over for a while, but TikTok is even bigger than that in terms of not everybody knew was on Vine. Everybody knows on TikTok, where they're creating on there or just on there to watch everybody else. So so it's one of those things where I get where you want to escape during times of trouble. And one of the things I did agree with last year, and even still now, I know for some people it's still happening. Do what you can to eliminate anxiety. I have a lot of teas I drink. I have a lot of anxiety reducing teas, camomiles, and things I love that help me. A lot of stuff. Sometimes alcohol doesn't really help you. A lot, but I say sometimes it doesn't really help you. It seemingly help you, but it doesn't in terms of reducing anxiety. I like alcohol and I drink on occasion to relax. But for anxiety, I'll go for tea first. And or I've had a few edibles here and there. I'll admit that. I'm not running for office later or anything. I don't care about that. An edible's fine sometimes. I don't smoke weed, I don't do that kind of stuff. But an edible, that's really make me relaxed. I don't take any drugs for anxiety. I have some prescription stuff in my cabinets. I don't do that. I don't have a lot of anxiety. For the most part, I do occasionally. I have a panic attack every once in a while. I had one recently. They're not fun. It comes out of nowhere. You get worked up over something, and no, before you know it, you're having an anxiety attack, panic attack. And I had one the other day, which I know Mom is sharing with you. I'm doing all this stuff. I got spring fever. I need to go through this whole pile. It's a pile of just stuff. And I have no desire to go through it. I just have no desire to look at it or do anything with it or handle it. Let me sip my tea on that one. I have spring fever. The weather's better. It's spring. My garden smells good and looks good. My loquats are coming in. My rose bushes are blossoming. I just want to traipse through my garden all day long. But I created this world where I have interviews and shows and books and music, and I'm producing you, and I'm producing you, and I'm producing you. I work all the time. I rarely get days off. I try my best to put a day off here and there. I get like an afternoon off here, and thank God for that, right? Or an evening off here. And I haven't been on a vacation in over a year because of the pandemic. Left Los Angeles once. That was just to Camarillo. But I'm finding myself wanting to run and play hooky, basically. And tell everybody, leave me alone. But I gotta make money. I love what I do. So it's not even that. It's that I'm tired and I just want to go off and play. And that's very interesting for me because I'm a hard worker. I like to work, to go in. I had a bump of work energy the other night. So then I was up till 3 a.m. working. I completed writing a series and I was writing. And I felt good. It's done. It's in the can for later. But I'm like, I'm tired again. I want to play again. I just want to play hooky. My career's going fine. I really have nothing. I'm not complaining about anything. I have a few complaints, but nothing really major. But I just want to go out there, grab a book, and just read all day long. Take a nap. That's what I want to do. I think there's a lot of folks who want to go out. I suggest people to try to go out there and do that if they can and find something that makes them just relax. Stress is a killer. I believe I got Bell's palsy due to major stress. Weight gain, stress, heart attacks, stress. I've had several people that I know pass away recently due to heart attacks. And they seemingly were doing fine. But again, we don't know what their anxiety level was. So my anxiety attacks will come because all of a sudden I'll be like, I have all this stuff. I have all this stuff to do. Am I going to do it? What am I doing? My thing is I start questioning myself. Why am I doing this? Why did I start a network? Why did I start these 10 shows? Anybody care about my shows? I didn't even care about them. They don't care about your mind starts just to race, and my mind starts to race. It happens maybe once a month. I don't have it very often. I shouldn't say once a month, but recently it's happening once a month, but it doesn't happen that frequently. And I don't take medication for it or anything like that. I calm myself down. I have various ways. Either it's a bath, tea, whatever. Calm myself down, And usually I'm fine again. Um, I think it's a lot of stress when you start projects, when you're doing, when you're in some kind of, when people are, one time I had a attack because I was like, I have all these people underneath me. I have all these actors and writers and this and that. And it's just like, you're just like, oh my goodness. And then you're like, everyone's calling you. You know, my phone rings all the time. Rings all the time. Rings all the time. I text all the time. Emails. I mean, I was sitting here for what, 30 minutes, and I got my emails down. I have 15 more that just came up. I'm looking at them right now. 15 more emails just came in 30 minutes. I just clicked them off. There you go. And they were all just nothing exciting. I have texts coming through. When do you come out? When I see you? When are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do this? Just all the stuff that I created. I can't whine about it and be like, why is this happening to me? I can't say that. I created this world. And I'm on the hamster wheel and I just can't. There's times I want to get off. And that can produce anxiety. Now I go back to the 80s. I always had jobs. My son was 15 years old. I had jobs. I had school. I had friendships. I had relationships. I gained a child, a baby that I was taking care of. And, you know, it was, I mean, I handled it. And I was poor. I was trying to make it. Trying to make it. I was young, trying to make it. And I did it. And it's times like I look back on that. I look back and I remember liking it on some level. Like it was kind of like this, you're young, you're trying to figure it out, getting your first apartment, getting your first this, getting your first that, first time driving. I mean, all these things you do when you're young. I'm looking back on now as an old man. And I'm like, oh, but I'm sure I had anxiety, paying bills, get the child alive. I'd say when you have kids, that first year, you're like, are they breathing? Are they breathing? Are they breathing? This is like, are they alive? They fall off the bed. Where'd they go? I'd lose Monica all over the place. I'd lose her sometimes. Like, where'd she go? She was in the house second ago when she was crawling. She was a fast crawler. And I always wonder sometimes, like even back in the 90s, when I had 3 jobs, living in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world. I had 3 jobs, helped raising a child, helped trying to be a community leader, trying to date and have relationships, all this stuff. And and then I partied. How did I do all that? Like, how did I do all that? How did I go dancing 4 nights a week? Every other weekend be in Sacramento at the kids' swim meets and working 3 jobs and having friends and doing this with my friends, actually having adventures with my friends. I don't know how I did all that, but I did. I mean, I have things to prove it. I did it. There must have been anxiety. There must have been anxiety back then. Gee, I must have had it. People must have had anxiety. I mean, especially in San Francisco, you had to find the weather was crazy. Well, I say it was crazy. It just for me, it was a little strange. Where in the summertime it doesn't get warm. 4th of July, it's foggy. You know, things like that. They always threw me off. And like, things like that just threw me off. Like I don't understand what that means. I'm from Los Angeles. I had high-profile jobs. I was quoted in newspapers and papers. I had to write a letter. My brother just reminded me the other day I had to write a letter to the editor over an issue that happened with my last name. I was fighting with my father at that time. So that whole time I was fighting with him. I mean, there's a lot going on. And I'm like, and I had a lot of friends had a lot going on. I mean, and a few of them sadly didn't make it. Suicide is a major thing, folks. It's real. It's hard. It's personal. It's devastating. I had a couple friends kill themselves. They couldn't take it. But a lot of us made it. And we're in varying degrees of whatever we are right now. I have some friendships that have lasted 30 years. And we're all still kicking. But I know there's anxiety. And some of us are going through more than others now than then. I have friends who are taking care of their aging parents and raising their children. Like, that's great, and having a job. And that's crazy. That's a lot. That's anxiety producing. And meanwhile, worrying about the world at large, this COVID virus. Whenever I leave the house, whenever my brother leaves the house, you know, will he come home? Will I come back home? Will I be safe? Will he be safe? I'm not even leaving my house anymore now. Can't even say that. We have cops come to our house. And when they say come outside, I'm super nervous. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have to just pray to God that I'll be okay. And my brother will be okay. Nothing will happen between us. It's such a, you get in the car, you hope you don't have a car accident. But you also hope you don't get pulled over. There's a lot of things nowadays. We're just trying to live our lives. Just trying to live my life. Trying to buy my own business, live my life. That's all I'm trying to do. Most of it trying to do. And it's really tough. Anxiety is a real thing, and it's crippling many of us. And I don't have the answers, like the big answers. I'm a certified life coach. Tomorrow is my 7-year anniversary as a life coach. And I've helped people. And it's been great. And I have some success stories. Very nice. I love being a life coach. I just try to help be a conduit to someone else having their best life, the life that they want. I try to take their ideas and their feelings and fears and their strengths and weaknesses to work in their advantage so they can go from point A to point B, wherever point B is for them. That's what I try to do. That's all. And I do it for myself, same thing. And I have people in my life, some great mentors. Some folks don't even know they're mentors, but I learn from them all the time. It's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience. But I think anxiety is never going to go away. It's just not. Maybe my friend's right. It's just not going to go away. I think it's always been here. We may not have identified it or talked about it back in the past. But now, more than ever, it's up front. We can't ignore it. And I don't know. Like I said, I get infuriated when I hear something else that has happened. Or when I hear someone say something that's so offensive to me. I'm like, I can't believe they said that, that kind of thing. You can't help but just get upset. But I firmly believe we got to find a way to be able to live also with some beauty and grace and dignity and happiness and some joy. I would hate that for the rest of our lives now, we're all just going to be upset the rest of our lives. That no one smiles, no one laughs, no one has anything good to say. I don't want to live in a world like that. I just don't. And I don't wish that for the world. I want the opposite. I want people to be able to genuinely say, I had a good year last year, in spite of. I know a few folks have said that about last year. They said they had a good year, in spite of the COVID stuff. I had a pretty good year, in spite of the COVID stuff. But I think I don't know. I just hope we can get to a place where we can find a balance somewhere where, because the bad stuff's always going to happen. I don't see it going away anytime soon. But there also is good stuff. So maybe that'll help too. ALottaHelp.com is my website. That's ALottofhelp.com. A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr. is the Facebook page. And everyone, please do what you can to give yourself a break from all this craziness. I implore you, I invite you, I hope for you that you can do that. So I'd hate for you to also have to go through